Hey, everybody, we back again.
We back.
I'm Spencer, and of course, we have our licensed clinical therapist, Naz.
I was going to take my glasses off and I took the earplug out. Dr. Nuts. My
Yep,
father goes,
you're a doctor, all right. You're
my
a
father goes,
doctor.
are you trying to look like a dumbass? He's like, I
Yes,
think you're trying
yes.
to.
That's
Dr.
your own
Nuts.
father, so remember that.
Doctor.
And this is the Different Spectrums podcast, where we talk about movies, shows, and the mental health aspects that surround them. We also like to have some laughs, so don't take us too seriously.
Or do. That's up to you.
There you go. Also, don't forget to run up those likes for us. We'd really appreciate it. So, before we get to our guest today, go check out all of our great collaborators: Cure Hydration, Bub's Naturals, Pinfinity, Silver Dollar Candle, Two Nerds Candle Company, and Cat and Raven Company. That was a mouthful, but go check them out on our link tree, and you can get up to 20% off your entire order if you use the code DSP or DSP20, or just by clicking the link on our link tree. So go check those out. Great companies, great people that we are collaborating with. So go check them out, get some stuff. And then also go check out our merch. Be different. Go grab stuff.
Period.
Do it. Or you can say that you're from Mental Health University.
I failed that one.
Existing 2022. That's right. Started 2022. That's right. Go buy your stuff today. So like I said, we have a very special guest today. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist, and she's also the author of a children's book called The Tale of a Trio. Please welcome Kat the counselor to the show.
I'm so excited to be here.
Woo!
You better be.
I don't like being here right now. Well, that sucks. You're going to be here for 2 more hours, so get used to it.
Jesus. This is when she does the exit thing that she said.
And click.
Yep.
Hit that red button.
Does my baby need something? I'll be back. All right.
And never to return. Thank you for joining us today, Kat. We really appreciate it. Yes. Awesome. So today we are going to be taking a look at the show Friends. All right. So beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate it. I love doing acoustics. So we're going to be checking out a few different topics for today, a few different clips, having to deal with loss, grieving, and talking to a cat that might be your mother, reincarnated. So, yeah, good stuff today. Naz, anything before we get into the show?
Some of my clients know when we talk about grief, I got this ceramic cat that's in my office, and that's my brother reincarnated. He's in there. He watching us.
Mm-hmm. In a still statue.
He in the little cat statue.
Just sitting there forever.
Just sitting there watching. And the funny thing is, he was like career criminal, so he probably just waiting to see what he can take. But I can hear him when I'm talking. As soon as the kid be like, "I live in a nice house." Oh, you do you?
What address is that again?
The big bad wolf. Why what nice TVs you have, my dear.
It's like Toy Story. Just starts walking when no one's looking.
Excellent.
Not creepy at all.
Not creepy at all. So yeah, Kat wanted to bring up Friends, and I feel like a lot of folks watch it. As Kat said, you kind of go to sleep to it at night. I've got my own shows that I do that with. Friends used to be one of them, and so we did a couple polls. We did a poll the other day, and a lot of people watch Friends on our thing. So I was like really excited to do this. We're going to talk about some attachment styles, probably some grief, probably some different personality types, and of course, autism. Autism. Detected.
Yeah. Just so you know, Kat, this is actually intervention. Your family and friends want us to break the news to you. You have the tism.
I knew it.
I mean, you might. So, that is actually very funny.
That'd probably become a segment on our show now.
That should be.
You have this thing we call autism, and you got it.
You know, like the old show Punked. This is
Yeah.
It's just called tism.
Yeah, it's a fake podcast just as an intervention. Oh my, so many. I can feel the lawsuits happening. Can feel them impending. Just
Whoops.
letters hitting me in the face.
They're coming with me.
I know. So let's have some fun. I already feel like this is gonna be really good because like she's rolling with everything, so it's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, she is.
Let's do it. Whoop whoop.
Ready?
Whoop whoop.
Whoop.
She
There's
got one.
2 whoops. You gotta do 1, 2, 1, 2. It's like
Whoop whoop.
there you go.
Well, that's 3 now, so we're cursed.
Beetlejuice will appear.
Beetlejuice.
Don't
Mom's
say it
coming?
again. He's going up here. Don't say.
Oh, hey, what's up, Mom? Yeah,
Oh my
right.
God.
we're done.
And
Hey everyone, thanks for watching our show today. We just wanted to take some time to give a special shout out to our collaborator, Cat and Raven Design. They are a small queer-owned business that specializes in LGBTQ+ pride soaps. They have great designs, some that even look good to eat, but don't. You can get 10% off your entire order if you use the code DSP or go to our link tree. Help support this great small business and help give back to a great community.
So great.
You want to explain that?
I mean, well, because when I was growing up, you know, my dad left and my mother died and my stepfather went to jail, so I barely had enough pieces of parents to make one whole one. And like, here's this little baby who has like 3 whole parents who care about it so much that they're fighting over who gets to love it the most, and it's not even born yet. It's just the luckiest baby in the whole world. I'm sorry, you were fighting.
You don't have insurance here, so stop calling us.
You didn't tell her? Okay, fine. Phoebes?
Yeah, hi.
Hi. Listen, this cat belongs to a little girl. All right, there are flyers all over the place.
Sorry, sweetie. Hey, we can take her back with you if you want.
Oh. But, you know, she chose to find me. I mean, I have to respect her decision, right?
That's a good call.
No, look, hey, enough is enough. Look, I am sorry that you feel guilty or whatever about spending time with your new mom, but this is not your old mom. This is a cat, okay? Julio the cat. Not mom, cat.
Ross, how many parents have you lost?
None.
Okay, then you don't know what it feels like when one of them comes back, do you? I believe this is my mother. Even if I'm wrong, who cares? Just be a friend, okay? Be supportive.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't know what to say.
You could say you're sorry to her mom.
I think she would like that.
Come here, come here. Mrs. Buffet. Sorry about what I said. It was It was insensitive of me to say that you were just a cat. When clearly you are also the reincarnated spirit of my friend's mother.
Thank you. We both forgive you.
Well, honey, what are you going to do about the little girl?
Yeah. Okay. Listen, Mom, I hope you know that you still mean a lot to me. And you're welcome to come back anytime.
Phoebes, if she could come back as a couch, we'd really appreciate it.
Come on, Mom.
This is your office.
How did you guys find me? I knew I should have hit at the gym.
What the hell are you doing?
Panicking. And using the internet to try to prove that I'm related to Monica. How is she?
She's fine. She doesn't know you're gone. And she doesn't have to know, okay? Now, come on. We're going home.
No, I can't do that.
Why not?
Because if I go home, we're going to become the Bings. I can't be the Bings.
What's wrong with being the Bings?
The Bings have horrible marriages. They yell, they fight, and they use the pool boy as a pawn in their sexual games.
Chandler, have you ever put on a black cocktail dress and asked me up to your hotel room?
No.
Then you are neither of your parents.
It's not just their marriage. I mean, look at yours. Look at everybody's. The only person that can make marriage work is Paul Newman. And I've met me. I am no Paul Newman. I don't race cars. I don't make popcorn. None of my proceeds go to charity.
But look, Chandler, right now, no one has a lower opinion of you than I do.
Right.
But I totally believe you can do this.
I want to. I love her so much, but I'm afraid. This is too huge.
You know, okay, you're right. It is huge. So why don't we take it just a little bit at a time? Okay, forget getting married for a sec. Just forget about it. Can you just come home and take a shower? Well, that's not scary, right?
Depends on what you mean by we.
It's just my lens. It's my lens. I'll be right back.
I hit her in the eye. I hit her in the eye. This is the worst breakup in the history of the world.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. How many of those have you had?
Oh, I don't know. 1 million?
Chandler, just shh, easy. Go to your happy place. La, 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 la,
I'm fine.
Okay, all right.
I'm not fine. Here she comes. She's
All
coming.
right, shh, wait here, okay? Breathe.
How do you do that?
It's like a gift.
We should always break up together.
Oh, I'd like that.
Hey everyone, before we get into the show, please check out our collaborator, Bubs Naturals. They sell a variety of health and wellness products, including collagen peptides, MCT oil powder, coffee, apple cider vinegar gummies, and other amazing products. Go to bubsnaturals.com and use our code DSP20 to get 20% off your entire order. And with that, let's get into the show.
Hey, everybody, we back again.
We back and we're live. Just as live as all the haters from Deion Sanders at the University of Colorado with a big win this weekend. So this is going to come out a month later, but still.
Still, though.
Still.
First win, and then he's going to be like 1-5.
Hey,
But
whatever. I just love how everyone loves to hate, and then he's pop. Always fun to root people going through adversity and changing things and doing it a different way. So, way to go, coach. I'm really excited for those players.
Yeah, he's creating a great culture for his teammates. So, I like it.
It's a great thing for a lot of just black coaches and brown coaches in America, is that you don't have to do things a certain way and you can be different. and
Mhm.
players will flock to you. Another reason why we do this podcast. It's a different spectrum, different vibe. As Kat said, we're being a little bit more authentic, real, funny, personable, flawed, deeply flawed.
So deep.
And I think that brings some normalcy to this mental health stuff. And there's a lot of folks that are doing that work. Dion happens to be one of them. So let's
Wow.
get to the show.
Way to bring it back to us.
I did.
And that you really circled around that, didn't you? Good for
That's
you.
nice.
That's how he does it. He's like,
It's
"Ain't
like
like
a
third." All right. So before we get into the show, like I said, we have a very special guest today. Kat, could you please explain a little bit about you and how you came about the show?
Sure. So I am Catherine. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I've been working in the field for roughly 5 years already. I am the assistant clinical director and lead marriage and family therapist at a private practice lovingly known as Puzzle Piece Counseling. We're located in Northeast Florida. And while I work with folks on most walks of life, my niche or my happy place is working with people on the autism spectrum and their families, and just broad neurodiversity as well. And I like to dabble in a couple of different things. For kicks and giggles, I'm a Gottman certified couples therapist, even though I have a love-hate relationship with couples. And I'm a certified clinical trauma professional. Grief is my jam. And I also have interest in OCD, anxiety, and trauma. And then just for kicks and giggles, I also wrote a therapeutic children's book about a year ago based on a true story about a therapy dog named Addie. And it explores resiliency and the power of friendship. And it's called The Tale of a Trio. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
The Tale of a Trio.
Yeah. I stumbled on this podcast, though, just because I love what you guys do and what you guys stand for. And I mean, your podcast just brings me so much joy.
Okay. So I feel like your book, what's the book about? Is it like, this is why mom and dad hate each other?
That's version 2. That's coming. No. So this one is, it's actually based on a true story. One of my colleagues had this delightful black lab named Addie, and she joined her in all of her therapy sessions. And one day my colleague told me about Addie and their 2 neighbor dogs. And in the book, they're Rue and Bee. And Addie helped Bee heal her anxiety because she used to get all kinds of anxiety whenever thunderstorms came. And Addie would go sit with her under the bed and like whimper at her, like she was actually like talking her through it. And then Rue, they found on the side of the road one day, and Rue did not know how to play. So Addie actually taught her how to play. And so my book really showcases how to hold space for folks and how to not judge a book by its cover, metaphorically, and that relationships take a lot of nurture and there's worthiness and all kinds of folks, no matter what their backgrounds are.
Different ways to support. You can teach it. It's not always inherent. You might fail at some stuff. If you could, you had the book with you said, right? If you put it close to your person, you'll actually be able to see it because the thing, there it is.
Yep.
Oh, you got the dogs there.
There we go.
Yeah, you got to hold it right there. You're good.
Yep. Just cover your face. Yep.
Yeah, pretty much
just the dogs.
Just the dogs.
We don't want to see the cover anyways. We just want to see the dogs.
Good. That's pretty cool, man.
Thanks.
Yeah. And
it's on Amazon.
There we go. It's on Amazon.
Go on Amazon, folks. Go on Amazon.
Okay.
The Tale of a Trio. TAIL. Tale.
Oh, and I also have a website, catthecounselor.com. And I have a bunch of therapeutic worksheets that I utilize within my practice. And I have a bunch of blog posts. I love writing. It brings me joy. And I'm also just a written processor. So I write about experiences on both sides of the therapist chair.
Okay.
Awesome. So how did your journey into being a therapist kind of start? What made you want to be a therapist?
Great question. I think
Right.
childhood. No, I grew up as an only child, surrounded by a monotony of adults. And so I've always been kind of an observer. I've always been really interested in just what makes people's brains tick, but also like the impacts of relationships within the ways that we construct our world. And so I also just really enjoy holding space for people and like being on with them on their journeys. So when I graduated undergrad, I did the psychology undergrad, and then I was like, well, you can't do anything with this.
Yep.
So took a gap year, worked as a language therapist, really random. But I was able to work alongside a lot of just professionals within kind of the mental health field. And I discovered like being a marriage and family therapist, I was going to be able to kind of walk a journey with people. And I just, that brings me so much fulfillment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Walk
So
the
you said
journey.
you kind of have like a rocky little relationship with like couples. What did you mean by that? If you could, give a little.
Sure. Well,
She hate men.
it's interesting because like when you bring couples into a therapy room, the couple, like the relationship's actually the client.
Right.
But whenever couples come in to session, originally, like the myth is, they're gonna they always want you to like take their side.
Yep.
So it's difficult to kind of hold
Merge.
space for the relationship, right? And have the couple identify that that's the identified patient, not your asshole husband, like so.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, he wasn't that bad of a guy. He just got 6 other kids, by 7 other women.
We all
Damn, the math. How'd the math work on that one?
It makes sense if you don't think about it.
Right. Yes.
It does, man.
That's what he told his wife. He's like, just don't think about it. All right,
Don't think
they're
about
there.
it. They're all great.
I don't
people.
see them, but they're there.
I love everybody. I'm wife blind, like they say. I'm colorblind. Couples relationship therapy is so difficult. I actually quite enjoy it because it makes my brain gears work, and I enjoy that because it's so different and it's such a interesting boxing match of counter punches and counter reacting. But it's tiring. It's very fun, but it's tiring. Since I only have to do a couple per year, it's not that bad. If I had to do a lot of it, I'd probably be like, man, fuck this. Just get divorced.
I'm tired of the story.
It's funny with a lot of the people that will come to me for couples therapy. They'll work with another counselor and it'll be a white-bodied individual. And they're like, well, you don't get the culture, right? We can't just get divorced that easily. Because a lot of the couples will be international at our university because it's a big grad school. So they'll work with me and I'll listen, hear them out, this and that. And after a while, I'm like, Race ain't had nothing to do with it. The other lady was right. Y'all need to break up. And they're like, yeah, I think so. I'm like, I don't know why you had to hear it from me, but like after all this stuff, this is bad.
Maybe you just held space with her as well. So
we process a little bit more maybe than just confronting it right out front, because I don't want to say that even though you know it right from the beginning, like this is bad. But you try to do the healing. I've also been in those places where everyone wants you to take sides. It's kind of weird. And you're trying to look to see which one has the stuff and if the other one's like getting ramrodded or boundaries pushed. And then sometimes you'll see the one is just like severely clinically depressed. And you can't really work on the marriage until that person gets help individually, because that person is just
right. That's been a really big obstacle too, is just a couple presents itself and it's like, well, I would love to do work on this relationship, but there has to be parts that are done first.
Correct. There has to be some foundation first to get us up to the speed to work on it. But you're right. Earlier you said something. She was like, yeah, I'm just interested in, the way minds work. I'm like, yeah. I'm thinking about it. You figure out how mine work, and then I take everything from you.
It's mine.
It's mine now. I feel like a CEO. I figure out how the company works, and I take everything. I'm joking. On all seriousness, and then we can get into the show. I will see a lot of people say many different reasons on why they like getting into therapy, being a therapist. I mean, be intrigued in people, love humans, passionate about helping people, diverse populations, marginalized identities. A lot of folks will say exactly what you said, though. It is they identify that they like this mind stuff, the family dynamics and all that stuff. And they're like, what the hell do I do? And then they have to go to graduate school. So a lot of us, you'll notice, is folks that have stuff. A lot of us counselors, there's a reason why we're more passionate about helping and caregiving, which could lead a lot of us counselors to some weird transference things and just getting too much emotionally hurt from things, or overreaching or overprotecting. But we all got like stuff. There's also some studies out there that show folks that have a little bit more trauma end up having a lot more empathy. A lot of us, that's some of the thing, because we know how bad it feels to feel sad and depressed and all that. So we're more caring. And there's a gender gap. You see a lot more women in the profession because they are trained systemically, societally, patriarchally to be the caregivers and the lovers and the providers in that way, where the dudes are doing other things or nothing. So you don't see many dudes, don't see many brown dudes. It's always intriguing to hear why people pick psychology. For me, I fell into it, but it was interesting understanding how the mind worked. But mine probably was for other reasons, to understand how the family worked and to maneuver things and to get by with things, to manipulate my way into certain ways so that I wouldn't get all the toxicity from other people, not to hurt people so I wouldn't get hurt. It was a self-protection preservation thing. I was like, ooh, I can use this. Okay.
Superpowers.
It's a superpower. As one of my clients said, you're going to put that magic on me, ain't you, Nas? I'm like, if I had magic, you think I'd be talking to your dumb ass? Just be real. You think I'd be working at the school where you don't even pay me? I'd be working at a private practice, charging you like $500
right now in the sky. In the sky. You
Yeah.
don't even know me.
And to kind of piggyback off of that, I think, why I got into the field versus why I'm staying in the field, I think look very different. I think especially just after the pandemic, mental health and just this profession really shifted quite a bit, or I've seen it shift. And so something that I just really enjoy about my work now is all the different perspectives that I get to bear witness to. I'm very much a fan of saying no one's perspective is the right one. Like it's all the right one. Like we get so stuck arguing one versus the other. And so I just love the ways that just meeting with folks and getting within their worlds and having, the privilege to sit within somebody's world.
Privilege.
Yes, that's very humbling. And that's very it continues to make me want to grow and make me want to be able to provide that for others.
It's a cool thing, isn't it? Right? The privilege or the honor that people can tell you these things that they've never told anyone, and yet somehow they tell you, and they put their faith and trust in you. And then you have to make sure that you're doing what you have to do to make sure that you live up ethically, morally, and to bring your A game every day. And if you don't bring your A game every day, that's fine, but you better bring something because, they need it. So you got to take care of yourself when you go home, but that's a whole different story. But yeah, it's a cross to burden, but there's so many fun and good sessions that the heavier or harder ones, it balances. And if you're not balancing it as a therapist, you need to start figuring out how to balance it. Your caseload, that is. Caseload. Well, I was going to ask a Friends thing before we get into the scenes. So why'd you pick Friends?
Friends is my happy place. I think so. I didn't actually discover Friends until I was in like an undergrad in college. So really it's just been, I guess, like the last 10 years. And I think I've watched Friends every day for the last 10 years. It's low-key an addiction. I think it's just because it's so, it has complications, but it's also so like oddly comforting that like it shows off like enough humanness for you to be like, okay, like same. But also it's so predictable. And my brain just really enjoys being things that are predictable. So
eats it up. So Spencer, as we say, detected anxiety disorder.
Oh, they're gonna say something else.
No, I got to build up for a
Detective,
few.
autism.
No, that's your happy place. That could be for many different reasons. It could be also, ADHD stuff and just helping you close your mind out. It could be anxiety stuff and helping you relax, watch something soothing that's predictable, that it's easy. It's multiple different things. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's something that helps you function better daily. And we all have those shows. And I think it's good that I wanted to point that out because Friends is, for a lot of people, mine ebbs and flows between a few different shows depending on where I'm at. But New Girl tends to be my number one. Friends was it for back in the day. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Kim's Convenience was there. Tacoma FD was there for a while. But it always ends up coming back to New Girl. So like right now I'm on another New Girl kick. So it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm glad that folks know that you do it because a lot of my students do it that are neurodivergent. Like, does this make me weird? Like, no, man, we all do this shit. It's fine.
I think there was a study out, don't quote me, but they did a study on how like Friends impacts the brain, and like there was like it like actually reduces anxiety.
There you go.
So something magical about it. But
there you go.
Magic. All right. So with that, let's get into the scenes. So, Friends. I'm not. It's 6 friends, and they go through stuff. There you go.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of stuff in there. But the first scene that we see is Phoebe. So Phoebe, she actually, her mom took her own life, right? And then her dad, her biological father, left. And so Phoebe grew up on the streets, homeless, and ever since then she's just kind of had like a very positive but yet whimsical kind of attitude too, which is cool to see, especially from somebody who has been through so much. But like we said before, Nas said before, more trauma, you probably will have like a little bit more empathy. And so one day she finds this stray cat, and she has this connection with this cat, and she thinks that it is her mother reincarnated. Yes. And you should show Freddie. Of all the characters in the plushies that you have, you show the one that will go into your dreams and murder you. What the hell is that? Yep, there you go. But he has a smile on his face, so it's fine. There you go. And then in the scene, while all the other friends kind of let her go through what she's going through, Ross kind of takes it upon himself to tell her, like, hey, it's just a cat. It's owned by somebody else. You have to give the cat away. And then Phoebe kind of just explains, like, hey, I lost both my parents. And maybe this is what I have to go through right now to get through missing my mom. So it's a very, very adult themed right there. Very powerful. So, Kat, the first question I have for you is, were they on a break?
Oh God, we're starting there.
That's right. The real questions about Friends.
Is there like a wrong answer? Like if I choose wrong,
yes,
booted off?
No,
right.
There's no wrong answer. What's your opinion? I just want to get the first opinion. Since you are such a Friends fan, this has been a Friends question for the ages. Right?
Friendemic.
I really...
Sure.
It depends. Again, it depends. Our favorite phrase within therapy. I get so many eye rolls. It really depends on the perspective that you're coming from, and so.
Oh,
So like, through Rachel's lens, or like, kind of like that shared, like, I guess, woman's lens, I don't think it was an official break. It wasn't. And like, how do you define a break? Is it like, we're on a break for tonight, or like, I just need a break for like a few hours? Like, what does that mean? And then I think Ross's emotions really got ahead of him, hearing that phone call, I think, because God, that one dude was over Mark. He could hear Mark in the background, so he just assumed without actually like utilizing good communication styles to be like, yo, what is he doing there? So I think there's a lot of assumptions within that vortex of, are we on a break or not?
Right. So real quick question before we get back to the Phoebe scene.
Mm-hmm.
As a family therapist and a marriage therapist, how would you attack that? How would you attack this whole situation?
Oof. I mean, we would really just explore, like, Rachel perceives an affair.
Yep.
Whereas, Ross, I think throughout the show also struggles with accountability. Really also exploring, like, how does accountability come into your relationship, and how would you like it to move forward in your relationship? Because I think throughout the show, they both still want to be in a relationship. But then also kind of working on that forgiveness piece of, will we be able to repair? Will we be able to move forward? So, and like, that's kind of how I work with couples as well, is, when there has been a betrayal, when there has been an affair, it's very much like there was this injury, and really helping Ross sit with the fact that there was a very big injury for Rachel, and then seeing if both can mold their understanding and empathy and validation of each other's experience and moving forward.
Max, look at see if there's any love or empathy or caring still there, which there is, and then kind of building back around that. I would do.
It would be amazing to see both of them just like sit with each other's hurt for a minute and then see what happens. Like,
see
I've always
what
been
happens.
like,
a lot of people can't do that, as we have seen.
Everyone gets super defensive and angry, and
yeah. All right. So, getting back to the scenes. So, one thing I will say is that for a lot of these scenes, the main person, or at least one of the main people in the show that you use for the clips, are Phoebe. I would love to know, like, why do you kind of pick Phoebe for your clips? And do you kind of feel like a little bit more of an attachment to her character, or do you just like who she is?
I adore Phoebe. I really admire Phoebe. She's one that I like, just very much respect, which is interesting. Like, if you go like on social media or online, Phoebe's actually attacked pretty often. Like, people get really annoyed. But I love kind of like the diversity that she brings to the show. I love how robust and just, blatant she is about where she stands and what she thinks. I think that's also just my enjoyment of just the population that I work with. I love neurodiversity because it's so authentic and it's so real, and it's like there's such a bravery in being just true to yourself and human and leaning into that. And there's so much of the world that like shuts that part off of ourselves. Like, we're not allowed to be human, which is, I think, the most hypocritical thing of our world.
Right.
And Phoebe very much just leans into it. But also just like the trauma that she has experienced and the ways that nobody really holds space for her. It's always just kind of laughed off. And I think that's just the flavor of the show. She's really built up her own safe spaces, whether that be leaning into whimsy. She's very much expresses herself through music, and she doesn't really let any judgments of her music get to her. It's not like she like changes her music because people are like Rachel, I think, literally told her one time, like, you're terrible.
Yeah, it's bad.
She was like, thank you. Like, I love the bold and like just brazen ways that she just embraces herself. And I think too, if people could actually pause for a second and like lean into their own stuff, I think a lot of people could actually admire her too. But I think sometimes the ways that she like embodies herself is almost a threat because people are like, oh, I can't do that. Like,
She's
I can't be
cringe.
that way.
Yeah, she's cringe for a lot of people.
Mhm.
She's also just the most spectrumy character on the cast. She's right autistic coded for sure. But one could also say that's just the trauma that she goes through and then all the defense mechanisms.
Mhm.
One could say it's just personality disorders. So I saw that you wrote something in there about personality disorders and people think that she's schizotypal.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of like threads out there that they think she's delusional, which I have so much empathy for because I don't see that. And schizotypal personality disorder very much doesn't crave close relationships. Whereas I see Phoebe craving those, and I think her attachment style gets in the way of that. And we can talk about that a little bit, but she has this quest throughout the show to like find family, and she's pursuing that.
True.
She is very close to Joey. Like it showcases their close relationship in particular, and just the ways that she has this attachment to David and then to Mike. So I think relationships for her are complicated, but I don't see the personality disorder.
I think women get
Uncomplicated.
women get personality disorders slapped on them pretty quickly in America.
It's fun.
Big issue. Big issue. Especially with those that are neurodivergent, big issue. They'll get slapped with a bunch of personality disorders. I'm like, this person's anxious, probably OCD, right? Or some trauma in the background, or this person's hella on the spectrum. Spence, I shit you not. And I know they ain't gonna listen to this because it's gonna be a month later anyways. I'm at work. We're handing out tabling, doing an event, awesome event, suicide prevention. It's wonderful. They come up to me, hey Nas, need you to come over here. I said, what's up? I said, this boy's over here bothering people and the staff. And he keeps asking questions, but he's not responding to anything that the women are saying. We think that, he just don't respond to women or like maybe he's, misogynist or something. I said, okay, we need you to come say something. Big guy, right? You maybe can get him away. So I go over there, I go to talk to him. Within like 2 seconds, I'm like, so this kid's hella on the spectrum. Like he ain't shut up. He's showing me random ass memes and shit, right? I mean, he's out in no man's land. But he's talking, it was the funniest shit. Because he go, physics class, open book. Step 1. Step 2, hit head on book. Step 3, cry a lot. Step 4, do homework. And he repeated it like 5 times. I'm like, so what's part of this scream misogynist?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, you didn't think autism at all. So you all got PhDs. And no one was like, spectrum. So it was interesting, right, on how I was able to coax him out and then get him moved on to the next thing. There's a lot of like negative things that we put on people, and I feel like Phoebe is one of them. Different lens to see different people. She's very quirky and bubbly, but also does have a lot of pain, a lot of trauma. What do you do when you have a lot of trauma and a lot of people that have left you? You kind of, keep people a little bit at bay and allow the really, really safe ones over a long period of time to then come in. I mean, she's doing what she needs to do to protect herself. But yeah, women get put on a lot of different things, and I think a lot of therapists miss a lot of different things too, because they have a different lens, right? You said perspectives. A lot of therapists are coming from different perspectives. Some older therapists, older doctors will just be like personality disorder. I'm like, come on, man, Jesus Christ.
And it blows my mind because I really enjoy working with young adults. And I run across so many just young adult women who have been diagnosed with everything in the book. And then by the time they're 23, 24, 25, they're like, oh, I'm autistic. Like,
yep.
Thank you, somebody, for actually, helping me discover this. And
they won't do it.
Disheartening.
They won't diagnose you unless you eat Legos. They won't do it. So Phoebe, as Spence was saying, you picked this character, right? This is the character you really enjoy and liked, misunderstood. But specifically, I'm going to pivot back for Spence now. This scene, why'd you pick this scene?
Because I think it sheds light on something that so many people miss. it's never the kitchen sink, right? And so that's the kind of the phrase that I utilize within, right? Twist. Within couples therapy, it's they're arguing about the kitchen sink. Nobody's like either they've left dishes in there or they're not doing it, but things are never about what they appear. And I think Ross is such like a showcase of how like society kind of just views people processing something. And so right now, Phoebe has just discovered this like life altering secret that her known mother is actually not her biological mother. Like she had just discovered her biological mother. She had just discovered somebody who's familial, but it's also like a betrayal because, you know, they've never appeared in life. And so she's trying to process this. This is a huge chunk of information. And she's utilizing a cat. You know, metaphorically, it is so much easier to process something when we compartmentalize it.
An object,
And so she's verbally processing, and verbally processing in a way that's not harming anybody. Maybe Julio's original cat owner, but like in the grand scheme of things, she's processing in, I think, a very open and brave and honest way. But Ross is so focused on it's a cat, it's a cat, it's a cat. It's like you're missing the big picture. And so many times we get distracted by the trees and we can't see the whole forest or whatever that saying is. And so I, again, admire Phoebe's just bold way of communicating and being like, hey, hold space for me for a second. And just because you don't get it, so what? Just be a friend. And so in that particular scene, like, I love that. Like the therapist in me is like, yes.
I think I see, let's go with her being one of my clients that's on the spectrum. So there's a lot of derogatory connotations with folks like her, right? The stupid, gullible, naive, magical, delusional. And so you see him being condescending. That's what he's doing. I know what's going on. This is what you need to do. And then she's like, well, fuck you, man. I know that this ain't my mom, but have you ever dealt with anything deep your entire life? Little privileged little punk. And then she's like, okay, I was going to say some other shit. Yeah, that's what I came to. Those are some bad words. And then she holds space within her. She pulls back, you know. She shows some, what's the shit that I don't have?
Restraint.
Right. It's when I was eating that dry ass sandwich earlier and I was choking on it. I hadn't had no restraint. I just kept eating it.
Be careful with those sandwiches.
First
dry ass sandwich gonna be the death of me.
I'm telling you. And she shows restraint, and then she like literally said, obviously I know this jackass, but let's just go with it for a second. Like you said, this is the way I'm grieving and working through it. I feel like that happens a lot with my clients. People will say this, and this, and then my client's like, I know that, man. Just it's fine. Let me do this. I'll get to it. It's like when people tell you, it only further makes certain people more stubborn. Even me, when people to tell you to do something and you were just getting ready to do it, but since you told me to do it, now I don't want to fucking do it.
Yeah.
But there's that very condescending tone that Ross. I don't like Ross.
No one likes Ross.
No one really does.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Good. Yeah,
he's not a favorite character. No.
Yeah. I don't fuck with Ross. So that's what I saw. I saw someone being kind of bullied and picked on instead of being empathetic and patient. Now the question is, how much time do you have to be patient? But my question is why is it up to him to set the time for her as a therapist? Why is it up to us to set the time for the person on grief? Right, you know, I got family members that are going through prolonged grief disorder, right? Because they updated the DSM, right? It's been years and years and years. And I was talking about grief the other day, and someone said, because I got a client going through some bad grief right now, and I said, when we get done with that, because it's a short-term counseling, and then the director goes, are you ever really done grieving? And I was like, well, yeah, but you know what I mean. Like when you don't feel like dying because this parent died, well, then we can move on. He's like, okay. He's like, I know what you meant now. I was just teasing you. But Ross is like other people, hurry up now. But But you can't do that. Even with my brother, even when you tell him to hurry up and move, hand me this fast, it makes him go even slower. He's not budging off his timeline. And I find that
And
with a
it's
lot
so
of my clients.
dehumanizing too.
Go ahead.
It's just so dehumanizing. It's removing yourself from the human inside of you. Like Ross is not functioning from a place of, I'm a human sharing in this experience with you. It's, I'm judging you for having an emotional tie. Like, so what?
So what?
How does this emotional tie impact you, really?
Nas, she got to hurry up and go to work and do this, and she's playing games and having fun doing this stupid shit, and she's messing up my stuff. I'm like, no, it's really not. It's really not. This has nothing to do with you, and why are you making about you? Why do you have to be the person to set her correct? And I say this, but Catherine, you brought this up earlier, is a lot of us therapists act like we're all knowing, especially on social media. It's quite terrible. But I've even done this with some clients or some kids that I mentor. I'll be like, this is what you need to do. And they're like, I know, Nas. You don't need to tell me. Well, I'm just making sure you know. And then they're like, well, now I just feel sad. And I'm like, damn, I fucked up. Because I should have just supported. The mentorship role is different than the therapeutic role. The mentorship role needs to usually be a little bit more supportive. Therapeutic role, you can like push a little bit. Because they're looking for maybe some answers or solutions. So I found the mentorship role needs to be way more supportive, way more patient. Yes, different roles. I'm slowly finding out at 34 now that they're vastly different.
We still have to learn stuff.
Yep.
I learned nothing. I don't want to.
Yeah.
28 years old. I ain't for learning. I'm all about me.
His girlfriend's gonna watch this, be like, "Yep,
that's right. He doesn't learn a damn thing.
He real stupid.
He dumb as hell.
Yeah, it's to the left. I don't know why that came in my head. I think it's a good scene, which parlays into the next scene.
Yeah. So in this scene, Phoebe and Ross go to Chandler's business because he's hiding. He's hiding. He doesn't want to. He wants to get married, but he's going through a little bit of trouble. Kind of accepting that, he's actually going to get married, and somebody actually loves him that much to do so. So,
X.
How do you kind of? Question for Kat first. How do you kind of talk to somebody who just has so much self-doubt in themselves about being loved, and how do you kind of get them through that process of going through with something that in the end they know that they want to do, but at the moment they're just kind of too scared to do?
It's exuding patience and giving grace. A lot of time, folks who are, and folks, I've experienced this as well. It's that self-doubt. It's that like, I want to do this so bad, but I'm so afraid of letting myself and others down. And so many people are quick to fix. It's quick to be like, well, just do this, just like what Nas, you were talking about. But what I have found just most helpful, most powerful is just to hold space and be like, what, tell me more about that. Like, let's sit in that space for a minute. Like, I'd love to know how you've come to this. And really just leaving space for the narrative and leaving space for the story, because it's so different when we're able to hear our own story. So many times we have a story circulating within our minds, but it's disjointed. It's not necessarily out, but whenever we let it hit air, it takes some of the power away. And it helps us kind of shift our own perspective and empower us a little bit to be like, but this is maybe what I want to do with it instead. And so then it's like, okay, you want to do this. What are some ways to getting to that? And not being like, what do you need to do? It's just like, what are some ways? So it's approaching it from a kinder space, because whenever we're being hard on ourselves, we are kicking the crap out of ourselves. We're not being kind.
Yeah, totally.
Spence, I had a human the other day. Man, I might have talked about it before. They was crying so bad, so hard, it was intense. I had looked away at the computer because I knew I was going to tap into my emotions when I said this. I said, "Hey, I need you to do a favor." And they look at me. They said, "What?" I said, I need you to tell something to my friend." "What the fuck you talking about, your friend?" I said, "I need you to tell something to my friend." I said, "My friend's sitting in his chair right now, and someone's saying nasty shit to her. I need you to tell my friend to stand up for herself, and then to tell that person to stop saying them nasty things." She goes, "Who the hell are you talking about?" I said, "You're my friend, jackass."
I love that.
And I said, "I need you to stop, because you would never allow anyone to talk to your friend like that.
Mm-hmm.
You would never allow someone to talk to your best friend or your husband like that." And right, and so the ways you're talking to yourself is so inappropriate that you would never allow anyone else to do it to anyone else, but you're doing it to yourself. I get it. We all do it. I get it. I'm not shaming you, but you need to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "You're going to talk to your daughter like that?" "I would never talk to my daughter like that." "So why are you talking to yourself?" "What's different, my daughter? I got to show her love." "So you show her love, but you don't show yourself love?" So then, since that wasn't working, I tried the friend thing. And then, of course, she started like crying even more. Try to be nice to my friend, please. Um, right. Sometimes the therapist isn't supposed to put themselves in these type of roles, but like this was just an emotional moment between humans. I'm like, you just can't keep doing this, kid. You're good people. I even said something else because she looked just like Colin's kid. I said, my best friend. And I said, if she grows up to be just 50% of you, I said, I'll be happy as pigs and shit. Highly educated, awesome, resilient, friendly, still warm, good looking kid, taking care of herself, married. I said, I hope she ends up being like you. And she was like, what? Yeah, kid, you're pretty cool. Like you did pretty good. I just wanted to coincide some of the stuff you were saying. That sometimes you need to hold space. Sometimes you need to validate. Sometimes you need to be real and open up a little bit. Sometimes you need to let them know who they are. And I think I would do that with him, Chandler. Like, where's this coming from, man? Why are you acting like this? So we would first make sure he doesn't fully destabilize and slowly process where all the insecurities are coming from. And then I need to get him to talk to his wife to have an open conversation, because that's the shit that's killing them. But before we did that, we would put it all on paper, get it out of his head, see if that helped. Most likely he's using substances, because Chandler is Chandler. And the real life actor, what's the real life actor's name?
Perry. Matthew Perry, yep.
Substance use issues his entire career. So he plays the role really well. So we would try and document some of that stuff and get it out there. So right, we're back to autism. A lot of folks on the spectrum are very insecure about a lot of different things. Now some folks are extremely confident, completely ignorant. But most folks are just scared. Imposter syndrome. We're mimicking and role playing certain things, and so we're not sure what our identities are. So it's just a lot of fear. And so when you finally get into a relationship and they say, I love you, or I really want to marry you, we're like, it's a trap.
You lying.
You're
lying through your teeth.
You want my social security number, don't you, motherfucker?
I know what you're about to do with my social security number.
Yep.
So many credit cards.
Got you, motherfucker. I'm illegal anyways.
Oh my God.
And I think like the culture just around autism is so...
Hey, are you a nerd? Do you like pins? If you're like any of our followers and you said yes, you should check out our collaboration with Pinfinity. They have Power Rangers pins, Transformers pins, and for all of our bronies out there, My Little Pony pins. Go check out our link tree or use our code DSP to get 20% off your Pinfinity order today.
Awful. I mean, and just like some of like the themes that like I've seen just, with, and I'm not speaking from experience, so please correct me. But it's very much like when you're like a small child, you're thrown into ABA, you're thrown into all these other therapies, and all these therapies are like, hey, you're not fitting in the box. you're wrong, you're bad, you're not enough. Like these are like the underlying like themes. So like whenever you grow up, get older, your identity and just like the way that you see yourself, it's not safe. Like
Very
you're
flawed.
not allowed to like embrace yourself.
Everything is invalidated. This is a tricky one that I found out. It's when the oxymorons. I don't even know if I'm using that right. But sometimes when you validate people that already have like deep insecurities and all that, they hate themselves, right? Chandler, you're like, give them space, time, let's process some things, but don't go right into validation and positivity because then they believe they suck. So you say, hey, I don't suck. So what that does is further invalidate their feelings that they suck. And so they can't even trust. I'm telling them to trust themselves, but I'm telling them that they're good. They think that they're bad. So right? They're getting invalidated by me, even though I'm trying to inject positivity. So it's this fine line of boosting them up slowly without invalidating them and going with those sad feelings, processing them, and then laying down some of those good vibes like I did at the end. Where you don't go hot and heavy with the good stuff. Then they're going to feel like it's all bullshit. Most likely, anytime you gas anyone up, they think it's bullshit anyways. No one has the ability, literally no one, has the ability to take any compliment and internalize it. Not a thing. I'm like, you did really good on that. Like, why do you lie to me so much? I'm like, oh, fuck you, man.
Just take the compliment. Jesus.
Funny thing. Story time. This completely divergent.
Well, we're a neurodivergent podcast, so,
Well, this was an odd social time for me. So I'm at this outing thing with the nurses, and one of them is like quite awesome, quite lovely. Love talking to her. Goofy, weird. And I go later on, I said, I like your eyebrows. They're very nice. She goes, what? Like, yes, your eyebrows. They're very symmetrical. I enjoy them. She's like, literally no one has ever complimented my eyebrows in my entire life. I'm like, well, obviously you have them threaded. So yes. Did you also notice that my leg was shorter than the other one? I said, why would I notice that your other leg is shorter?
Why am I staring at your feet right now?
I know. I said, now I can see it with you little waddling around.
There you go. That's how you do it. Take them down a peg.
And then the other
already
nurse,
shorter than their other legs.
just kick out their little nub.
But, boop, there it is. See it
now I see it.
And the other nurse goes, right, Nas, you need to teach your husband on how to talk like that and recognize things. We need to teach more men that. I said, I'm just really good at noticing random specific things. And it brightened her day. And I said, I always used to do this. I would say that I noticed something, and then I would just walk away. Like, oh, you have new shoes. Walk away. My father's like, why don't you tell people they're nice or they're pretty or like the thing is cute or whatever, the outfit, the haircut or whatever. I'd be like, oh, you got a haircut. They'd be like, yeah, it looks really good, doesn't it? It's new. And they'd be
bye. Maybe slightly off-putting. Slightly.
Just... Yeah. So I started complimenting people, and then it was just funny. It went super weird because she's never got a compliment or affirmation before about that, which I thought was weird. Maybe it's a racial thing, not her being racist. I mean, maybe white folk don't compliment other white folk about eyebrows, but I know in the black and brown community we do.
Oh yeah, like my girlfriend loves my eyebrows. She's like, "Oh my gosh, babe, I love your eyebrows." I'm like, "Thank you."
It's a thing. I mean, right? With Latina, you don't know it's not fixing eyebrows or Latinx man.
It's true.
And black folk, everyone's getting their stuff threaded and fixed. I don't know. I just thought it was very interesting that I brought it up, and then they couldn't. And then it was hilarious. I ended up smiling greatly, and then I made it super awkward.
Of course you did.
And all the nurses were cracking
way.
up.
Like, funny and weird.
Yeah, because I could see all the other nurses be like, "You like my eyebrows?" I'm like, "No, it should look terrible."
No.
Yeah.
Something look like two bushes that haven't been trimmed in years.
You look like the guy, the something Levy, the dad from Schitt's Creek.
Eugene Levy.
The caterpillars.
God damn.
God damn.
I have big eyebrows, but that dude's eyebrows are big.
Sick. I actually kind of like him. I just want to like rub my hand through him.
I think he probably gets that a lot. I'm gonna
say,
yeah.
If one of them
what you should do
moving,
next time, just walk up and start petting them.
Oh, I did that at my old job. I don't work there no more.
They fired me, I guess. Inappropriate behavior.
I can't go within the 100
know.
yards of school.
Oh my god.
Complete jokes. Complete jokes, people.
Yeah, C is not banned from schools that we know of.
They start Googling Nas in Minnesota.
Like, oh.
All right. Sorry about the side tangent. I think it's acceptable to compliment people on things and to, if you notice something quite wonderful and it's not going to come off weird or creepy, right? It's in a group setting, right? I already did the analytics. It was fine. She just wasn't used to affirmations, and you could tell.
There you go.
But it was quite a wonderful moment. Okay, so back to the scene.
Yes.
Does he go home right away or no? Chandler, does he go home right after that scene?
Yeah, I think so.
Probably, yeah.
So Ross says, "This is the most therapist-y thing I've ever heard." I don't know if you saw this, cat. Let's just go home. Let's just take a shower. Yeah. Let's do a little baby stuff. Let's just get you in the house, take a little shower, and then he goes, "What do you mean we?"
Default to humor.
Yeah, correct. He always does, right? Isn't that a thing with him?
Yes.
Yeah. That is a Chandler Bing personality trait right there.
Emotion, yikes. I'm going to use humor instead.
So, Kat, who are the type of people, personalities that use humor as a default? Or explain that thing, that phenomenon.
Well, I mean, it's people who are hurting.
How dare you?
More or less. I'm so sorry.
Fuck you.
The secret
Nobody's hurting on this show.
You don't know shit.
I mean, humor doesn't always default to hurting, but more or less, it removes us from feeling something.
Yeah.
It's that barrier. Some folks utilize anger, some folks utilize, escapism, and other people utilize humor. And so, Chandler is defaulting to humor where that's the only safe part of his identity that he maybe doesn't hate. Within all of the episodes, I know there was one where he was in Oklahoma while Monica was home, and she made a comment he's the funniest guy ever, a coworker that she works with, and completely just derailed his whole sense of identity. He had to fly home.
Remember that.
And just very, again, like that. I think humor is the only safe part for him.
I mean, that's one of my foundational pieces. If not for that, I'm not sure how much people would like me.
I would be such a douche. It wouldn't even be funny. I would be such a douche.
I'd just be quiet. I'd just be quiet.
That too. Yeah. Would not say a thing. Would not have the confidence to say anything.
Podcast would be really different.
It'd be very quiet.
Yeah.
Crickets. The whole time.
Crickets.
Next topic.
And I think things have changed because now I just laugh at stuff in my own head. So it's not even about running from emotions. But before it definitely was. Before for me, the jokesters is de-escalating the environment and making sure that I control people's emotions so that way they don't get elevated and that they're enjoying themselves. So it's a defense mechanism, not specifically for me, but to make sure that things are safe in the environment. Mm-hmm. And so we all do it for different reasons. But if you find yourself joke, something's going on. Why can't we be real? I was talking to a different nurse at the school, and I said, "Hey, man," and I said, "FYI, I'm on the spectrum, this and that, right?" And then we talked. I said, "You gotta stop acting weird." And she goes, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "This joke stuff where you're coming at me weird, man, make me feel bad." "Oh, I'm sorry." I said, yeah. I mean, you're making me think like HR is going to come get me or something. I said, I brought up something about, their teddy bear was facing the wrong way in the door. And she said, "Oh, I don't know how to do my job now." I said, "Come on, man. You need to stop with that shit." Right. She said, "I'm sorry. Just everyone else is jokes here." And I said, "I love making jokes. And also when it's just us, we can just be normal and chill and be actual humans." She's like, "That's awesome." I said, "Yeah, please." Because that other stuff, I was burned out already. And I love jokes, Spence, but it was weird. I don't know how to do my job. I'm like, wait, I know you're joking, but we get into some weird shit. But you're making it
Don't
seem
you love
like
the jokes that are not jokes? It's
it could be taken a
Like,
different
is
way if
this
someone else hears it.
sarcasm or am I just an asshole? I don't
I know.
know.
And it was quite lovely. I'm like, we can just be normal. It's fine. And her whole facial just changed. And I could see her actually being real instead of this thing that she thought that she needed to be around me and maybe a few other coworkers. That was cool. I'm not sure why she was doing that. But it felt awkward. Bad, but defense mechanisms, Chandler. I feel like there's so many characters that do that. Like in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the Adam Sandberg.
Hamburglar.
Hamburg.
Sandberg.
Sandberg. Yeah, he's always a jokester too. There's so many folks that are
Peralta.
jokesters. Yeah, Peralta. That are, I would say, somewhat hurting, but there's a reason why they're like that.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, they're hurting. Well, fuck you, Karen. Jeez.
Karen.
Go take a shower with my best friend now. It's my safe place.
Thank God I'm not your best friend. Oh, Colin, you're up. You're up, sir.
That's a big old tush.
Lather.
How we gonna get that tush in here?
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
Oh no.
Next scene.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's just move on from that. I hope he watches this. I really do. If not him, it's gonna be Heather. Be like, I knew it. I knew it. Heather is Colin's wife. And so she's definitely gonna watch this and be like, I knew there was something there.
My mom
thinking about it.
My mom, after like 2 months of being good friends in high school, she's like, y'all are gay, aren't you? I'm like, calm down, Mom. Calm down.
I said exactly like that, and she doubled down right away.
Fuckers. I feel like no dudes can be friends with, like, no dudes can have real friendships without being judged. Somehow you end up you have to sleep with them. It doesn't matter if it's women or men. You're like, oh, you're sleeping with him, aren't you?
You know what? Just because I want to shower with him naked doesn't mean I'm gay, Mom. All right.
That's a little gay.
Well, oh, sorry, my bad. Some whoops.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Totally
Tony.
I can't wait till my father watches this one.
You're gonna hear it like, I knew it. You're like, he can watch the show.
He's gonna change the locks.
All right, moving on to the next scene. Stop it. So actually kind of still going on to the Chandler Bing route. This is actually a part where he is breaking up with his girlfriend Janice. And he's having second thoughts, even though he absolutely hates her.
Yeah.
Hates her. But he's having second thoughts now and being like, I'm sorry, I didn't want to break up now. Come on, let's be together. And then he's kind of going through it, and it's getting hard for him to actually break up with her. But then Phoebe actually talks to Janice, and Janice is okay with the breakup now. And so we see that Phoebe doesn't have the attachment to the relationship, and she's actually able to kind of talk to Janice about, just briefly about, maybe this is the best. Maybe you should break up. And now Phoebe will be breaking up with all of Chandler Bing's girlfriends. So win-win there. So have you ever met anybody that's really had a hard time? Actually, I already know you've had. So that's not the question I'm going to ask. The question I'm going to ask is, how do you kind of guide them through a breakup if they kind of need to? Now, that might be a little bit of an ethical thing, maybe. But how do you kind of get them to kind of go through, breaking up with somebody if it's not a relationship that that is not good for them? So, Kat.
That's like one of the hard parts of this job, is that we can't really tell people what to do. I mean, and
Right.
I love the question too. What do you think I should do? It's like, I can't tell you what to do. That wouldn't be therapeutic. That would just be me being your buddy. And so,
Or enabling.
right, exactly. It wouldn't be very therapeutic. So it's, hopefully at this point, like I'd gather some background information. I'd see, where the anxiety is coming from. And terminating relationships can very much trigger a lot of childhood stuff from what I have found. And so leaving a relationship, it can very much bring up that attachment style, right? So like if we're having a secure attachment, it's, this was hard, but I'm able to do this because I see that I need to move on X, Y, and Z. But like, if in this case, Chandler's very disorganized attachment, meaning just for him, his parental figures growing up were very just not there for him, borderline neglectful, triangulated him into some really toxic stuff growing up. So relationships have never really been safe, but they've also haven't been safe enough to leave. And so here he's really struggling between, am I worth being happy? And is it worth the discomfort of somebody being upset? So there's like a lot of worthiness going on where, I mean, you literally see him like withering on the couch. Like it's like physiologically uncomfortable. So wrapping back around to like how I would support somebody through that, I'd want to check in with, what are your needs? And what are the positive needs here? And so many times we talk about what we don't need, but I really would like to be curious about like what you do need, and are those needs worth it? And also kind of asking, how can I best support you? So I would love to hear kind of from the other person's perspective, like what they're really craving from the circumstance. Because I mean, I've had clients who like literally are like, hey, so I want to break up with my boyfriend. Can we do it in your office? And I'm like, oh, Lord.
Let me get my popcorn. Hold up.
Exactly. Hold
Yes,
on.
you can.
But exiting relationships seems to be such a tumultuous time, and or not. And so we also see, like, I love this scene because we see the flip side where, Phoebe is a very avoidant attachment. Her caretakers really just were not present in her life. And so she just doesn't really rely on anybody. She has kind of neutral relationships. And so she's very much able to detach from them because she wasn't really attached to them in the first place. And so you kind of see both attachment styles where, like, Chandler's grappling with his self-image and just his identity. You're trying to break up with Janice, who he literally just cannot stand. And Phoebe's like, oh, I'll do it. I don't care. And she attempts to regulate him a little bit. Go to your happy place. Like, let's take a pause before we have to do this. Like, let's ground ourselves really quick. That would be an approach I would utilize too, of let's pause this really quick. This isn't something that you need to do in this very second. Super breather.
It's interesting. I wondered just about myself. And I know why it's easier for me to detach from people and why I'm not necessarily too attached to anyone very, very, very strongly. So I get attached to a lot of people, emotionally connected, deep, right? All of that. But I'm also very autonomous and grew up very autonomous. But that's not the reason why it's easy for me to just move on or to cut people off. It's because I've moved so much. And when you move and you move and you move and you move, you know that you lose people. And then, because you lose people, that's because you found someone. So with finding people almost guarantees that you will then lose someone by death, by moving, breakup, whatever it is. So me, I no longer get worried about that. It's just a cycle of life to me. And so some people be like, man, it's cold and fucked up. I'm like, no, I already accept what you don't accept or know, because you've been privileged enough to be in the same context with the same humans for so long. You don't know what it is to lose. I've already went through the grieving, and thus now the grieving every time becomes a little less to me. Becomes a little less to me. Certain folks, it'll be harder. But for most folks, I'm like, it's fine. So one of the counselors left a couple years ago. They got a new job. And she said, I'm going to come back and see y'all. And then as we got together, I said, you know you lied, right? That's me being very blunt. She said, what are you talking about? I said, you're never coming back. People don't do that. She said, well, I'm going to do that to prove you wrong. So, okay, I'll take that money. They never came back. Life moves on. People, new life experiences, right? Just things keep going. And things fall by the side. I'm explaining these things just because some of us, like me, can get super attached, but it makes me feel weird as shit because I'm not as much pain when I unlatch or they unlatch. Because, it's just part of the process. Spencer's talked about it too, where you give someone, like 90% of you, but not the full 100%, because that way, if there is something, you don't want to be devastated and completely die and sobbing. You need to have some autonomy. You can't be fully dependent, which is a healthy way to go about some things. So that was just my tidbit. I wasn't looking for like therapizing. I just know that I'm different because of the traumas of moving so much. So, right, those aren't like happy times. You don't want to lose people, but I know that it happens.
Yeah.
With Phoebe, so you explained it well, right? She got all this different stuff. She's just already avoidant, but she's also lost so much, like I have. So she just knows it's fine. Go away. I think people would think that she's cold, though. But how could you be cold and that articulate and charismatic in that moment? To where the other girl like hugs her and gives her goodbye, and then so if you were cold, you wouldn't have ended like that. You wouldn't go fuck yourself. Get out of here. Instead, she's like caring. I wouldn't see an avoidant person probably do that. She might still have avoidant like personality disorder type issues, but she's not like super avoidant like of all attachments. Like you said, she's attached to so many people.
And two, it's, if we're really just kind of looking at her through like an attachment lens, she had a grandma. Her grandmother did serve as that secure role. So perhaps, we do have some avoidant flavors, but then there is that security there.
Okay, so that makes her a little bit more healthy. Kind of like on a New Girl when he's fixing the kitchen sink, because you talked about the sink. So he's fixing the kitchen sink and he's angry. He's like, you know how fucked up I am? And then later in the show, she goes, yeah, you know what? I understand you now. You should be a lot more fucked up than you are. You're actually not that bad. He's like, oh, thank you. That's a good compliment.
Which was a lie, because he is so fucked up.
So fucked
Nick
up.
is so fucked up.
I've told other clients that. I say literally in a good way, like, you should be so much more worse than what you are. Like, from all the shit that you told me, like, you should be like
in
the loony bin. There's no way that you should even be existing and doing well in college. Sometimes that can be very validating, knowing that, like, oh my God, it's a thing of resilience, but it also pokes fun at their illogical, irrational thinking that they are the most broken individual that there is. And I'm like, no, you can be way worse. It's usually
I
a
have
weird
found a lot of comfort and like a lot of relief on people's faces where I'm just like, dude, like in the grand scheme of things, like I admire the crap out of you. Like, this is incredible that you're here with me doing this, doing that. And they're just like, really? I'm like, yeah, yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Interesting. So Chandler, you articulated the hell out of that one. I didn't even got no questions. Like, she was spot on. Here's this, and this.
Ooh, I win.
Damn.
Yeah,
believe me, that's a tough one.
There was a bunch that she said that I didn't even think of.
Him to not say anything, because this man could talk. There we go.
He's
down now. There he is.
Yeah, because the way his full body like went into full shock mode and like, meh. I'm like, that's the neurospiciest thing I've seen today. The full on, I don't know what.
Neurospicy, I like that.
Oh yeah, neurospicy as shit. I don't know what bird does that where they shove their head into the sand.
You're talking about a flamingo or an ostrich. Damn it.
Flamingo.
Flamingo's the one-legged one. God damn it. You know all about flamingos.
I do.
Also,
I've got one.
If you want to, you can get some of our merch, Neurospicy, on our website. Neurospicy.
Neurospicy. Neurospicy is not coined by me. It's coined by a lot of other neurodivergent folks. Been out there for a while. I heard it and I was
made a
like,
t-shirt out of it.
Yep. We got stickers too.
And stickers. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'd love that. It is ostrich, but the fact that he said flamingo, something very like pink and flamboyant, that was his first thing. I'm like, yeah, look who's gay now.
It's me.
I'm like, you want to take a shower later? I'm sorry.
No, that hurry back.
How dare you? How dare you? Okay. Random. That was actually the fourth scene. The third scene, which we'll get into now, is our last scene. Is the baby one, which I actually think is the best scene. So Spence, give background on that baby scene, and then Kat will chop it up.
Yes. So Ross's ex-wife is having his baby, and he's having an argument with her girlfriend, his wife's girlfriend, her ex-wife's girlfriend, because then she comes out as gay later on. And they're both actually, her, Phoebe, and Ross are stuck in the closet together in the hospital.
I've been there.
As she's having the baby. Sounds like a weird joke, but okay.
Three people stuck in a closet. They all did.
There's oxygen in there. I don't understand.
Continue.
So Ross and the wife / girlfriend, I think at this time they're still like, they're not married yet, and they're arguing pretty much about who's going to like really love their son more, and because either it's tough because obviously he's the biological father, and he was with his wife for years, and you have that attachment, and then now you have like the new girlfriend there, and I think that's honestly, I think that's a really good kind of showing of how like any type of relationship can happen, no matter what it is, because sometimes you get divorced and then you have new people in your life, and so they want to show love to their son, and then Phoebe kind of shows that, hey, I didn't get the love from either of my parents because they were gone early on in my life, and I wish I had 3 people that could really give me that love and attention through my life, and that kind of stopped all the arguing between them. Drop the mic on them.
Drop the baby.
Why?
Because
God, shut up.
Because Collins dropped the kid like 3 times in the last.
Why are you? What?
I don't know.
I love how you're like the one guy who like probably beats himself up about this.
I
You're
know.
like, I'm gonna get on my show and tell everyone.
I know.
Hey,
I should not tease him about it. I know he hates himself about it. I literally sent him a Snapchat. If like I see the kid with another bruise on their head, I'm taking the baby. 5 minutes later, he's like, "Yeah, the baby fell again." I literally was like, "Well, I'm calling CPS. She's mine."
She is mine now.
Yeah. The next day, she's like, she choked on her food, and like we thought she was dying. I'm like, "You've tried to kill this kid in the last 10 days." I don't think I can do any better, but I'm taking over. All right, continue. Mic drop. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. I think, especially I think when you talk to your clients, like they're all kind of waiting for this moment. It's like an eye-opening moment of clarity of that you do not have it as bad as you could, right? And we've kind of already talked about that. But especially I know Nas has a lot of experience, and he's talked like with a lot of his clients about this, but have you kind of had those moments with your clients at all, Kat?
Moments in just like those
moments of like they finally kind of see through another perspective.
Oh, kind of like just how Ross did in the
those
other
are
woman.
my favorite.
Yeah.
Like those just they give me so much joy. And I think as clinicians we hang on to those moments. Like there's so much hard stuff in the work that we do, and I don't know if you can resonate with this, Nas, but you know, we see so much pain, we see so much just ick. And to have those moments where you see like the cogwheel shift in like somebody's mind, like you see it in their eyes, and it's bewildering, and it's wonderful. And you know, I practice from an experiential lens, so I think healing happens when we're not just doing talk therapy. So I love to like get people's like, you know, full bodies going, like the sensory system engaged. And so like, you know, these moments will come about like when we're like, you know, knuckle deep in slime, or, you know, throwing a ball outside, or doing some sort of like really cool thing. And I love to repeat it back. You know, if somebody says something just like with clarity, or like that moment where it's like, oh, I can see the shift, I always like to pause and be like, let me just repeat this back. See, let me say this again. So we're able to like tickle all the parts of the brain of like, look at this perspective. Let's pause here for a moment. Can I just like shout out Phoebe for like always like having those moments with Ross. Like again, apparently. Like we started off with like Phoebe being like, you know, let's humble you for a moment with some empathy, and then Phoebe again being like, can I?
Hey everyone, I wanted to give a special shout out to our collaborator, Two Nerds Candle Company. Not only do they have great products, but they are also giving back to a great cause. You can tell that they take a lot of pride in making their candles. My favorite is Spock's Monday Coffee. They are also donating 10% annually to support Women in STEM, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. You can use our code DSP or go to our link tree to get 20% off your entire order. We think that this company is great, and we think you will too. So go check them out.
I just tell you how your problem isn't like earth shattering.
You little punk. You little privileged punk. Not to take your steam, but I think that's what I was going to ask you is, for someone that's probably seen as maybe not intelligent in the show, she has these very powerful moments where she's able to exude her lens and then open and free other people's minds. And I feel like anyone that feels neurodivergent or the weird or the outcast or any of that, you still have the ability to change people's lives, to see things outside the box, even when others are lost for words or lost in their own thoughts. So we all have worth, we all have value. You mentioned that about earlier about the book that you wrote, about other people having worth and value in certain ways, right? We all have that. She does stupendously. Because in that moment, she shows her pain, and it's not like a who has the bigger trauma thing. She's like, hey, wait a minute. This baby's lucky as shit because it has 3 people. Because you got to watch out with the silver lining stuff, Spence, because you were kind of treading on that. That is used very rarely. Like it could be so much worse. You use it, but it has to be right person, right time, context. The way she articulated it is, fuck, that baby's lucky. I wish I had that. And then they're both like, oh, geez, now I feel like shit.
And I think it's like a beautiful way of like, sorry to interrupt you, of like, here's something, it's like that figure 8, right? Like here's something that they're viewing as a problem, but she's viewing as a positive. You know, I always like to draw like, oh, sorry, it's a 6.
The infinity.
Right. Or the infinity too.
Yeah.
You know, it depends on the perspective.
Well, yeah, we use infinity here because, you know, the sign of autism, right? So that's why you said 8. I said, you mean infinity sign. You mean a different spectrum.
Exactly.
Right. Different spectrums.
You read my mind.
It is interesting. I was going to ask you a question and then I lost it. The ADHD is taking hold. We were talking about her and her ability to articulate and change. The powerful moments with clients. That was the first, not the first. You laughed and smiled a lot with us today. But that was like something from your core, where you talked about that feeling, that sensation that you get from that life-changing moment, right? That powerful moment when you finally know we're moving somewhere, and then you rub their nose in it, like, hey, you know, I do it all the time. What'd you just say? And you're like, no, back it up. What'd you just say? I said, Pokemon. Nah, before you said Pokemon, asshole. That profound thing that you said, where you actually complimented yourself and you said you did very well, you're good, or you're kind, or I do have friends. whatever it is. And I'm like, sometimes I'll catch people like, did you just say something nice about yourself? And they'll be like, I hate you.
Yes, and that's the response I get too, is I hate you. I'm like, dude, come on.
Hate you means I love you. That's what that means. That's the Chandler in them. Yeah. But I wanted to acknowledge that was the first real grin is when you were like, I just love that moment. And that is a very magical moment that I think almost no one in the world will see other than therapists. I don't even know how to explain that moment. I've talked about it on the pod with Spence. It's like you've got this human's life in your hands. No. There's a human entity. Let's say that your hand can go like through them. For me, it's like I can grab on and like hold this individual soul or spirit. Or it's like a heart that you squeeze that's like dead. And then you turn the heart on with like a little squeeze. And then they finally are able to circulate. It's like this weird thing that I see in my head. When you finally make that connection with them and yeah, it's weird.
And like you feel the energy in the room. I don't know if this is an experience you've ever had, but like when the energy is just like really intense or just really just raw, like I'll find myself just like vibrating sometimes. Of just like, there's so much in the space.
Yeah.
I know that sounds whimsical, but I mean it's that raw and true.
You might need a tetanus shot.
Maybe.
It's called rabies.
Oh man, they bit your ass. That's what it was.
I knew that squirrel bit me. Knew it.
Yep.
It was that sandwich.
It was that damn sandwich.
We got it. It was dry. Jeez.
No, man, you're right. The other day it happened. See, you've been in therapy for 2 years. You sat down with me one day. I didn't understand what the hell you were talking about first 20 minutes. I told you to shut up, straight up. Should stop. I don't know what the hell you just saying a bunch of stupid fucking words right now. And you've been confusing me and intellectualizing so much. I'm then lost and I'm about to go to sleep. I didn't say that part. I was about to go to sleep. What is actually going on? And then I kept having to fight to actually talk about real emotions and what actually is going on and pull out the feelings wheel. And as we got deeper and deeper, we got into some real stuff, like real stuff. Told me things they've never told anyone in the world. We talked about that. We sat in it. We validated it, even though they were bad things. I don't really care because there's no shame in it. And then we were able to make some really good breakthroughs and start gaining patience and kindness and empathy for themselves, but for others. And that was wonderful to see someone who's been in therapy for 2 years sit down with me and get to like the real stuff. Instead of just letting them talk and intellectualize. And I'm like, okay, we're going in circles here now. I can give you some coping skills, but that hasn't worked in 2 years. Let's talk about why you're so deregulating so much and you're so angry. Phoebe has a way of doing that and going right in for the kill. In a good way.
That's why I love her.
Yeah. I got respect for her now. Before, I'm like, she's weird. But I ain't watched the show in a while.
She's weird. What a weirdo.
She weird. She weird. It is.
She's just weird.
She just weird. They're all weird. They all are messed up. What'd you say earlier? You said breakups usually revert back to some old stuff or childhood stuff or other old breakups. I was like, that does make sense. And I feel like I do know that. Because it's hard to push others away or to keep them, or the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. A lot of different reasons why folks won't break up, Spence. I guess I didn't tell my part of that. Sometimes I will lay out the past for people for breakups. We have 5 choices. We break up, we stay together, we break up, and then it goes bad or it goes good if you stay together. It goes bad or it goes good if you break up. And these are the divergence of how bad they can go and how good they can go in those. So we just kind of build it out like this pyramid scheme thing. And then we kind of actually take away all the ones that we know is not going to happen. Like, oh, okay, you break up, he turns into a vampire, kills you. Okay, we know that one's not going to happen. Good.
You never know.
Good. So I like to dissect those and segregate some of those. And then we have the real options. It makes it a little bit funner. Also to lay them out. Sometimes we draw them. And then I'd be like, well, I know what I would do. I can't tell you what to do because I'm an enemy. I know what I would do. But I am not you. And then every therapist says it, but I say it more funny. You I'm 6'2", 340-pound Mexican. He's a 120-pound white girl. So we're going to have different choices. And she's like, yep, probably will.
Slightly. Just slightly.
Slightly different. I'm also, a dude. So I like to go through that and to let them know that even though I may think or do something, doesn't mean that you would or the next person or the next person. Sometimes I will go there, depending on the client, depending on the context, depending on the length of therapy and partnership with me. Or I'll talk about choices that I may make. And then I'll paraphrase it with, whatever you do, I got your back. Because don't you come into my office thinking that I'm going to be upset with you because you think you may know what I would do. So at the end of the day, none of us really know that we're going to do in a certain situation until we're in it. Mm-hmm. We can all think that we know what we're going to do. You really don't know till you're in it. Because I don't want them to think that they're disappointed or they let me down or like I'm in this father or uncle role and then, I'm going to shame them. I don't care about that. So I'll have clients that'll be a prolonged breakup, Spence. It'll be it's usually not the breakups that are hardest for me, actually, Spence. It's the other things. It's actually admitting that there's intimacy and that they love the person and they want to build a relationship with that person. And that's usually where they're both playing chicken to see who's going to break first. Sometimes it works out really good. And they're like, hey, man, I think I like you. We have a conversation about the things that we like. And it goes well. And then I've had it where my person will say something. And then the other person's like, yeah, no, we're going to break up. And my kid's like, so why did we do that? I'm like, because you were already dying in the relationship. So whether you stayed together or broke up, you were either going to fake it and die or break up and die. Either way, you were dying inside. We didn't lose anything.
You did. That's all
She's
right.
like, but I'm sad. You were already sad. But at least I had him. Did you really?
Yeah.
You had he had the version of you that you don't like portraying. So he didn't really have you and you didn't have him.
Aren't you better now? No. Oh, well.
No, it's because they're broken up. I just wanted to go back to the breakup things. They're complicated, but usually admitting that there's real intimacy and the real love or connection there, that's the scary one. Especially when you're not fully sure that they're all in, when you're like all in.
Right.
Vulnerability.
Vulnerability is a son of a gun. In almost every fashion, it's a son of a gun, but in relationships, new ones,
yeah,
that's probably the most therapizing I actually get into, Spence, is vulnerability in newer relationships. Not so much as breaking up. Everyone's getting dumped. Everyone gets dumped.
Everyone just straight up dumped.
Dumped. Everyone's like,
no real relationships here. Just dumped.
I got dumped twice. It's like King Me in checkers.
Gotcha.
I got Sabnum.
I got broken up with twice this month.
I'm gonna jump all the spaces.
Is that legal? It is now.
It is now. So the baby scene, tying all of it back into Phoebe and attachments. So, Catherine, you pick these scenes. They're all different, but yet they're all related with Phoebe and they're all related on attachment styles. I would assume this is something that you enjoy working with, is helping people move or maneuver those attachments, gaining more love and honesty and vulnerability, but also protecting themselves. I assume this is why you picked some of these things or specific scenes, or let's talk about attachment styles and why you picked these scenes.
So I really enjoy working with folks, parents in particular, parents who are trying to parent differently and also reparenting themselves. Because I think a lot of this stuff is kind of like that generational trauma that just like attaches to us and, perpetuates through the ways that we are within relationships with one another. And it's funny that you asked like why I picked these scenes. It was probably very subconscious. Like I would love to say there was this profound experience picking them, but I think this was just me kind of showcasing just what I really enjoy playing with, or holding space for within the therapy room. I love to work with folks in empowering themselves and trusting themselves and befriending themselves. which I think Phoebe does an excellent job of. And also, I love the contrast to Phoebe and Chandler. Like, I think they're very opposite.
Yes.
And so I think it just really much showcases a lot of what I really wish folks could see. Don't be the Ross, right? Don't be the Ross that gets distracted by the cat, or the break or what have you. But, be the Phoebe who like dares to ask the questions, and, be the Phoebe who holds space for people and encourages and doesn't try to one up. Like there's very little defensiveness in Phoebe.
Yeah. So
I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I got something else to dig further. This will probably help our podcast listeners the most. Not the most. All these things have been good metaphors to show people different attachment styles, why or when or how they come up in life, maybe how to combat some of those things, how to hold space, kindness, different things, support. But how do you, what's this thing, befriend each other? And I trust you to be like authentically you, not to be some BS. What the hell is this befriend each other and yourself? I mean, and then how does one even start that process? And then I'll piggyback and I'll help you out too.
So I think I wrote a blog post about this a little while ago, but there's a lot of running in therapy. People come to therapy and they're
I ain't running nowhere, so fuck you. If you were like,
I sit and watch people run.
Oh hell no! Now you gonna get stabbed. I'm sorry.
There it is, folks. There it is. We don't condone stabbing.
We don't.
Okay.
We don't.
No, but there's a lot of like running in circles. There's running around the thing that we need to talk about. There's a lot of running, and so we run from ourselves so much of the time. We run from the hard stuff. We run from parts of ourselves that are begging for vulnerability, or it's begging to be bold, begging to be different. And I think a big component of the work that I do, at least, is being able to see yourself in a different light, to where you're not the villain and you're not bad, and also to hold space and say, I'm sorry for the parts of your world that have made you feel that way. Because I don't think there's ever been anybody, or a lot of the times there haven't been people that have said, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And so, really, again, shedding a different perspective. And I like to tell folks too, like whenever, they first start therapy with me, is you're very much in the driver's seat and I'm in the passenger seat, and I've got a bunch of different maps, and we're going to try out whatever maps, and you're going to be able to find which one fits best for you, or which one gets you to the place you want to be. And I'm going to be patient and kind, but like periodically I'm going to ask, is this crap or not crap? Because I would really like to know what works for you, and I can't read minds yet. I haven't figured that one out. So I like to keep it a little lighthearted, but I also like to poke at the hard stuff. And I also like to create novel experiences where they talk about the really hard stuff or the stuff that they feel shame about, but create the novel experience of, you're not a bad guy. I don't judge you. I'm having empathy for the parts that you think are bad. And so kind of going from there and seeing what works. And
so bad could be interchanged with multiple different words. So bad, broken, flawed, irredeemable, many different things it could be interchanged out with. And then starting from there, acknowledging and then building your way back up. Okay. But first, with you, it's acknowledging, sitting in, processing, step by step, either forgiving or moving forward. So as I told a human the other day, I said, you stare too much. And metaphorically. I'm staring at you now. I said, yeah, I don't like that either. Stop looking at me in the eyes. But you stare too much. He said, what are you talking about? I said, it's an old Martin Luther King quote. It's okay to look, just don't stare. Also, we're not going backwards. Why are you looking? We're going forwards. We're not going that way. Going this way. So I like to point people in that direction as well. I'm not talking about forgetting or immediately forgiving. I'm just saying that these emotions only last 4 seconds in our brain. You're choosing to hit the button over and over and over unless you're forcing yourself to suffer. I'm saying there's a different way and a different path.
Mm-hmm.
Your way has not been working. So what do you got to lose doing it my way? It ain't been working. If it was working, you wouldn't be sitting here with my crazy ass. So let's try to change it up a little bit. I know you don't want to change. I know it's comfortable. But something's got to give. And if you trust me, I'm like, do you trust me? And they're like, yep. Well, we got to do something, kid, because you're suffering. And so that's when we start to create those changes and then do the real work. And we try to repair some of these personality related things, attachment related things. I think it's very important for everyone on the pod right now to know this podcast is about attachment styles. It's about how to recover from some of these traumas or these different things, life experiences, to where you can be fully in or out of a relationship when needed. And also to say that there's no right or wrong way to do some of these things, as long as you're not hurting anyone else. If you fuck up, people got what they get coming. They got what they get coming. They get what they got coming. There we go. No condoning. I just think about all my humans with these attachment styles because they've been. Spencer, we just did that podcast on Jack.
Yep.
Imagine him moving forward in the world where he didn't actually get to make those deep friends. He would be so depressed and suicidal, so isolated. I actually think I cried in the very beginning of the movie with that when that robot arm, he's watching all the kids and they're talking about it, and he's like, humans.
Yeah.
It just lets you know how different he feels from everyone else. So the attachment style for that is probably going to be, why even change? I'm so weird and flawed. No one's ever really got close to me. Why would they want to? I'm some monster. I'm some Ninja Turtle that got transformed by ooze that no one will even talk to me. Didn't matter how much pizza you give people. And that is a very sad and isolating place to be. I got students that are neurodivergent and they're in so many different things. And I got a kiddo, that recently come, multiple folks I've had this, and they don't want to tell me about some of their special interests or their bisexual identities, right? Gender, whatever it is. And they'll tell me, I'm like, okay, so why are you scared, right? So I know there's a lot of weirdness around folks that are like furries and stuff, but I've got some clients that are some furries. It's a thing. So a wonderful community. And so it's interesting always asking questions about identities, about interests, and then them being like, no, I've always bullied about this, or people hate this, or this is something that could be used against me later on if someone was to find out. How do I fully trust you? I don't know you. And every time everyone else brought this up or I brought this up, I was bullied and hurt. Or maybe abused mentally, physically, emotionally, sexually. So it's tough with a therapist to even have a good attachment. So I'm going to end on this. As you know, Kat, sometimes you bring it back and you work to the therapist bond and attachment. So we'll push comes to shove, I bring it back to that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So how does this relate to, let's say, like me and you, and why is this differ from me and you and how we communicate? Because you're open with me, but not others. So we start. So okay. So I present this, and this. That way you feel safe, and safe, and I'm held by law, whatever. Does this other person have any of those qualities? Yes, no, and then we kind of filter out, where do I enmesh with this other human that they're contacting, and how can we create a safer or choose safer folks to build up our attachment styles to actually have love, friendship. Attachment styles and building yourself up is so fucking complicated because we feel like we suck at everything. I remember one time I was playing a video game, Spence, because I was like legit ranked. By 2010 through 2012 in NBA Live, I was like, I think at one time like top 30 in the world. Just playing it. I remember I would lose and I couldn't crack it any further because the dudes were like legit good. I fucking suck at everything. Throws my fucking remote. I should just fucking die. I'm not the strongest. I'm not the coolest. I'm not the funniest. I'm not even the best at game. Top 30 in the world. I hate those fucking moments. And me and Spence, we've talked about it. Many of my students feel like that. Super mediocre. Even though they're in like the top 1% for education.
Mhm.
Makes no sense. All right. I had one thing to ask you, Kat, and I was going to end it. Oh, it was a funny joke. So I know you picked all these attachment styles, right? And you got a partner and you got kids and stuff. I don't know if you the Phoebe and you just cold, or you the Chandler and just being funny. Like, since you're on this podcast, I assume you got more Chandler in you.
I don't know. I honestly, I'm gonna like, I'm more Monica.
Okay.
All right.
More
That's
Monica.
fine.
I'm more Monica.
Oh,
But I want to be like Phoebe.
yeah, I can see that.
Sometimes you can't have the things that you want.
No.
It's so upsetting.
What was that song
So
she
sad.
always sang? Happy cat, happy cat,
Smelly cat.
smelly cat.
Happy cat. Man.
Hey, smelly
Yeah, you
cat's
really
worse.
watch Friends. Liar.
It's been a while.
Sure.
All right. We need to ask a question to everyone else watching. So I'm going to put a poll and a thing on Spotify. It's only can be answerable on Spotify. Which character do I identify as?
There you go.
Which character do you hate?
I wonder what character is gonna get the most votes. It's gonna be weird.
The white man. They just put that.
The white man. I didn't know you could write your own answers in there.
Oh, I can do a poll, yes, but instead of doing the
Yeah,
poll, no,
just do a poll. Just do a poll.
no, the poll is usually if they
Don't
like our
let
new
them
guest.
write their answers.
I
They
want them
will
to-
say DA white man.
Okay, I'll do a poll.
Hey, this is your co-host Spencer, and I'm bringing you a special message from our collaborator, Silver Dollar Candles. They have great scents to go with great messages, just like Best Dad Ever, True Crime and Chill, and my personal favorite, When This Candle Is Lit, Give Me That. You can also make your own candle and message that fits you. So go use our link in our link tree to get your order placed with Silver Dollar Candles today.
But yes, folks, who do you like and identify as? Who do you have more of the characteristics of? If it's a mesh, then let us know. And yeah, we'll see you in the reels. But I am done, Spence. Unless you got some other stuff you want to sprinkle.
Nope. Thank you, Kat, for joining us today. Please, can you give us a few plugs on where we can reach you, what your book is, where we can buy your book, all that fun stuff?
Today has been a blast, by the way. Thank you so much for this opportunity. But
They all say that? Wait a minute, they all say that, Kat? It's been a blast, and then they block me.
And then they never come back.
I won't do that to you.
That's what they all say. See, this is my attachment style. That's what they all say.
You're lying to me.
I'm going to give you evidence that's different. So, but I am Kat the Counselor on Instagram, all one word, K-A-T. And then I have a website. It's katthecounselor.com.
Okay.
And I have a blog on there, tidbits and tangents from both sides of the therapist chair and worksheets. And then I have the book, The Tale of a Trio. I'll try to put it up again. There it is. Haha. Yay. So yeah, The Tale of a Trio, T-A-I-L. It is on Amazon, also on my website. You can order it on my website for a signed copy if you so want. But if not, it's on. Yeah. And it's pretty cool. I've had clinicians use it within their therapy. It's a really good bibliotherapeutic book. Great for teachers as well, just trying to like foster positive relationships. Or just if you want a fun bedtime story for your kiddo that you actually enjoy as well. But that is me. And The Tale of a Trio, that page is on Facebook. So
okay. I will add your book into our therapist recommended into our link tree. So if folks want to go in our link tree, it'll always be there from now on our Amazon books we recommend. So it's the ones I give out in therapy, plus some other ones that therapists have been this podcast have wrote. And then plus I'll link all your stuff, your website and your Instagram in every single post. It'll be linked in everything that we do for this series. So we'll be good there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Amazing. And speaking of our link tree, go check out all of our great collaborators that we have been so lucky to team up with. I'm not going to name them all, but go check them out. You can get up to 20% off your entire order if you go use our code DSP or DSP20. And with that, thank you so much for watching, everybody. I'm Spencer. That's Naz. This is the Different Spectrums podcast.
Much love and appreciation. Kat, very, very welcoming, very awesome to have you on. Very funny. Yes. I love that you rolled with a lot of the stuff today. I guarantee you, your clients and neurodivergent clients love you. For real. Yeah, guarantee it. Because I quite enjoyed you. And if I did, then they do. So wanted to affirm.
He is the meter.
Yeah. It's more than that, though. It's more about having a blast. Also, you can tell you're good people. So that's good.
Y'all are okay. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know I suck. It's fine.
And never be on the show again. All right.
It's because my
buy that book, whatever she calls it.
But yeah, everyone, remember, take care of yourself.
Or don't.
That shit's up to you. Peace.
You so messed up that line.
That shit's up to you. I didn't mess it up.
You messed up the line. Shut up. You messed it up.
Whatever. Your fuzzy ass eyebrows.
With your fuzzy ass body.
All right, everyone. Bye.